Hi, my name is Sarah. I love my job working as a waitress in the local diner, and I get to meet very interesting people, lots of different personalities. One particular guy is always given to me by the other waitresses. They find Jack very sour and always in bad humour. They say to each other he is an ignorant, bad-humoured jerk. He is no different to me, but I treat him like everyone else who comes into the diner, with respect and dignity. One day I was working in the diner, and suddenly a man wearing a scarf over his face entered the diner with a gun. He held the gun to me, but Jack jumped in the way and shouted for the man to back off. The man shot Jack, and unfortunately Jack was killed. Jack saved my life that day, because as soon as Jack died, the man got spooked and turned around and walked out of the diner. I learned later that Jack had a terminal disease and had only a few weeks to live, but that didn't make the situation any less sad. I was sitting at home one day, reading a letter, and it really touched me in a very deep way. The whole staff at the diner never wanted to serve Jack, but like I said, I treated him nice, and actually I was extra nice to him, but it must have really resonated with him, and he must have really appreciated me, even though he didn't show it, because he left all of his life savings to me. Thanks for watching The Assassin Rapper, and if you want to stay up to date on new content, then please subscribe and be sure to hit the bell to be notified on new content. Peter was a kleptomaniac since the age of 7. He used to steal sweets from the local store when he was a kid and stole from his friends in school and graduated on to robbing banks. He even stole wildlife animals and sold them on the black market. Peter eventually ended up in jail. He used to stand near the bars hoping and praying to be in the outside world soon, where he could go back to his old ways stealing. When he was eventually released, he used to just sit and relax in the local park. It calmed his nerves and took his mind off stealing. Since he came out, he attended Bible studies and found God and read the Bible over and over to help cleanse his soul and to keep his spirit in check, and, most of all, to keep his demons at bay. His friend told him a story about a guy who owns a local convenience store being involved in black magic, and anyone who steals from him winds up in some sort of trouble. Peter put it down to some silly story to stop him from stealing. So one day when he was in the shop and the owner was on the phone, he wanted to know what it was like to have that surge of energy run through him again, like he used to always have when he stole something. So he stole a fan from the store. What harm would a stolen fan do anyone, he told himself. When he went outside the shop, he tripped face first onto the fan, and the sharp blades ripped his head to shreds. Thanks for watching The Assassin Rapper, and if you want to stay up to date on new content, then please subscribe and be sure to hit the bell to be notified on new content. Hi, my name is David. Me and my family moved into a new house, and I was tidying out my room when I came across an old computer. I knew it was old because the operating system on it was Windows 98. There was no password on it, so I decided to switch it on. I thought at first it was some silly joke. When I opened the browser, the homepage was Yahoo Mail, and there was just one email, which read, "Keep your eyes on the future" as the subject. My interest got the better of me, so I clicked on it right away. The email was just one line, which read, "There is going to be a fire next door tonight." Things became very scary for me at about 11 o'clock when I was woken from my sleep by fire engines, and sure enough, there was a fire next door. I didn't tell anyone because if I did, I was afraid they would think it was me who wrote the email and set the fire. I was going to pack up the computer and throw it away when I checked the email again to make sure there wasn't any more emails. Luckily there was none, so I went back to sleep, thankfully after knowing the firefighters got the fire under control. I woke up early and something told me to check the email again, and sure enough there was another email. The same title, "Keep your eyes on the future." This time the email read, "You're going to get good news today." I guessed it was an acceptance letter for college, and sure enough I got the letter. Even though it was good news, it really freaked me out. I was about to shut down the computer and definitely throw it in the trash this time when I noticed there was yet another email. Same title. I clicked on it and I froze with fear as it read, "Want to know who was sending you the emails?" And there was a photo of me with an arrow pointing at me. I was confused. My dad entered the room and said to me, "Son, are you taking your medication?" I was on medication for psychosis, etc. I took out a gun and shot my father and then shot myself. The unopened and last email was waiting to be read, which would read, "Keep your eyes on the future. I'm going to kill the person who is sending these emails and his father."
Thanks for watching The Assassin Rapper, and if you want to stay up to date on new content, then please subscribe and be sure to hit the bell to be notified on new content.
Sophie woke up on her sofa and wondered why she was not in bed. She must have dozed off last night reading a book she taught herself when she saw a book in her hands. She opened it up and it was empty apart from one page, which read, "I am writing this because if I don't, I will forget what happened to me. I am dead and I am trapped in between the living room wall. There is an axe near the wall in the hall, which you should be able to break through easily and find your body. I am writing this to myself, but really my ghost self, because if I leave this God-forsaken house, then no one will see me, because I am already dead. This page is all you need to read. Please don't destroy this diary, otherwise you will drive yourself crazy, looking all over for someone to notice you, but no one will, because you are already dead. I am already freaking dead." Sophie put the book down and walked out to the hall, and sure enough she saw an axe. She began breaking down the wall, and sure enough she could see herself dead inside it. She went cold with fear. Suddenly she heard a voice behind her. It was her husband, Mark. She was confused, wondering how did he see her if she was dead. She asked him how he saw her. He replied, "Something you better add to that God-forsaken diary of yours is that I am the one who put you in that wall, you bitch." It took Sophie a few seconds to put it all together. Not only did her husband kill her and put her in the wall, but after killing himself now as a ghost, he taunts her every day like Groundhog Day and laughs as he places her diary in her lap thanking his lucky stars ghosts can sleep in the afterlife, giving him the chance of placing the diary in her hand to wake up and read and enjoy her shock and surprise over and over again.
Thanks for watching The Assassin Rapper, and if you want to stay up to date on new content, then please subscribe and be sure to hit the bell to be notified on new content.
Simon woke up but knew he hadn't to get up this morning, so just relaxed in bed, listening to the birds singing. He always found it relaxing listening to them singing. He was drifting back to sleep when suddenly he was startled, not by what he heard, but what he didn't hear. The birds that were singing non-stop practically since he woke up had suddenly stopped singing. He listened expecting them to sing again, but there was nothing, just silence. He decided to open the curtains and look out. All he could see was a bright red sky, and suddenly the glass smashed. Then he could feel a heat of surge run through him, and everything went up in flames. Then suddenly he was shaking, as he was waking up from a nightmare. He was relieved that it was just a nightmare, and still felt shocked by it even though he knew it was just a nightmare. He went into the kitchen and made a cup of tea and put on some toast in the toaster. Suddenly he heard a smash from the living room. When he went in to see what it was, he could see a bird flew right through his window. He found it very strange, especially since he was just after having the nightmare about a fire and the birds. Then suddenly he heard a fire alarm, and when he went into his kitchen, it was up in flames.
Thanks for watching The Assassin Rapper, and if you want to stay up to date on new content, then please subscribe and be sure to hit the bell to be notified on new content.
Hi, my name is Susan, and let me start from the start. When I was just a small kid, I always wanted to be an actress, and as soon as I could, I put on shows in my garden and acted in them. When I finished school, I did an acting course in a prestigious college, and everything was going great. After all, I was living my dream. Most of my friends were studying to become lawyers or doctors or working in shops or waitresses, or else they took a year out to travel. But I didn't want any of that. All I wanted to do was to follow my dream, and as the saying goes, if you do what you love, then you don't work a day in your life. I was after applying for a job in a local Hollywood firm as a receptionist one day, and it was just paperwork and typing and answering the phones, but I'd planned on making contacts and working my way up the ladder. Eventually I met Frank, who was a very nice executive, who got me a role in a local TV show. I loved so much being in front of the TV cameras, acting. It made all my hard work seem so worthwhile, and the success I was achieving seemed so deserved. One night I was at a party where the city, or should I say, whole country's elite were there. I'm talking mayors, politicians, the elite of the elite. One room in the building was out of bounds to me. I wondered why, because it was a huge house, and I was free to roam wherever else I wanted to. I found a way to get into the room finally. It was by wearing a mask, and I overheard the password, which was darkness. When I went into the room, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. There were loads of people in the room dressed in black robes, and there was an altar in the middle of the room, and a man was lying on it. There was a person in front of him holding a knife above him, and they were all chanting "Hail Satan" over and over. I turned and left, and luckily I got to escape. But I left my job, and now I'm hoping no one comes after me for finding out that the elite group of individuals were a satanic cult.
Thanks for watching The Assassin Rapper, and if you want to stay up to date on new content, then please subscribe and be sure to hit the bell to be notified on new content.
Jake used to live in a cottage in rural Ireland, out in the back of the beyond. But he liked it that way. He used to love to sit by the fire and read. He used to love reading Irish folklore, and especially about fairies, etc., because he lived near a fairy fort and a portal to the other world. Lots of people laughed at Jake when he used to tell them stories of the fairies, but he didn't care. He knew that they liked to play tricks on people, the fairies of course, but more than often it was just harmless. Jake heard stories about the stray. The stray was a condition where it lets people, for one example, walk down the street and then they could lose track of time and maybe walk into a river. That really freaked him out. One night Jake was driving around the country roads where he lived, and with what seemed like he was in the car for only 2 minutes, he had woken up in his car and was 2 miles away. He definitely didn't remember any of getting there, but that was another example of the stray. The people would lose track of time. He wondered what had happened and pictured himself in the car in a daze, driving and driving down the country road aimlessly. He wondered what had happened if he had came across the police or anyone else, and even if he had crashed into them. He pictured himself in the car, crashing into someone or killing them or something really gruesome like that. Anything could happen while under the influence of the stray. When he woke up, he was outside a cabin in the woods. He drove back feeling tired and groggy, which must have been the effects of the stray. He heard stories of people falling into the stray, driving past the fairy fort, but this was the first time it happened to him. He wondered why did he drive up to the cabin, but then again, nothing about the stray ever made sense. So when he arrived home, he went straight to bed and tried to forget all about it. That night, he had a nightmare of putting a dead body in a freezer inside of the cabin in the woods. He woke up at a start. He got dressed and got into his car right away. He drove because he had to know. He had to find out. The stray was known to do really weird things, and he had to put his mind to rest. On the drive, he felt scared of what he would find, but he knew he had to find out. He finally arrived at the cabin in the woods and opened the freezer and saw a dead body inside.
Thanks for watching The Assassin Rapper, and if you want to stay up to date on new content, then please subscribe and be sure to hit the bell to be notified on new content.
Jack was a farmer in Ireland who loved working hard on his farm, but he had a field next to him that he knew had a fairy fort on it, so didn't work on it in any way. He knew about the stories that no one should build on fairy forts, but he had told himself that it would do no harm to anyone if he ploughed it and used it for his work. One day he went out on his tractor and ploughed it all day, and it took him until late that night to be finished. He was so happy with himself afterwards, and sat in the kitchen and poured himself a glass of whiskey. As he drank the whiskey, he was thinking of all the plans he had with the field. The next day he put cows in there, and that night poured himself another glass of whiskey. That night in bed he was woken by a noise. It was crackling, and he felt so hot he got a start when he realized his house was on fire. He ran out of his house and realized it was already morning. His whole house was up in flames, and he looked over at the field that he just ploughed the night before, and all his cows were gone. He also saw something impossible happen right in front of him. The field that had the fairy fort just turned into a lake in front of his very eyes. He had bad luck from then on in, and cursed the idea of him ever messing with the fairy fort.
Thanks for watching The Assassin Rapper, and if you want to stay up to date on new content, then please subscribe and be sure to hit the bell to be notified on new content.
Sarah Reynolds was one of New York's most popular radio show hosts and hosted her late-night radio show 7 nights a week from 11 to 2 in the morning. She used to enjoy talking to different types of people in different walks of life about different situations and never got tired of giving advice. She recently had a caller that called her almost every single night and for once felt like she didn't know the right advice to give her. She was just about to start her show when the caller Jane rang. "Hi, I have Jane on the line." "Hi, Jane, is that you? Again, I hope you took my advice and put that guy out of your life, like I have been telling you the last few weeks." "Hello, Sarah. Yes, it's me. It is easy for you to just sit there and throw out advice to get this guy out of my life, but just because he has a wife doesn't mean he can't be with me. I mean, all he has to do is leave her. Trust me, Jane, you don't want to keep wasting your time with this guy. If he is going to be having an affair with you and not worry about his wife, then do you not think he won't do the same with you? He might even be having multiple partners right now. You might just be a side deal with this guy. Just cut the guy out of your life. Drop the luggage. Drop him. He doesn't deserve you. End it. End your mistake. End him." Okay. I'm going to walk into his room right now and end it. "Hello, Jane, are you there? I did what you said. I ended him. He is dead. Are you happy now?" Sarah froze in shock with what had just happened live on air. That night when she got home, she froze in fear when she saw her husband lying down in her bedroom in a pool of blood.
Thanks for watching The Assassin Rapper, and if you want to stay up to date on new content, then please subscribe and be sure to hit the bell to be notified on new content.
Sarah was an aspiring artist that loved to draw since she was a little kid. She felt relaxed and really the best version of herself every time she opened a blank canvas and started painting. One day she was in a magic store that she happened to come across while shopping. She never saw the shop before, and the weird thing was she never saw it again. When she went to look for it, all she could see was an empty room where the shop used to be. She bought a canvas from the store. It freaked her out because most of the things in the shop were either meant to be magic or what looked like satanic. When she started painting on her canvas, she found things got absolutely insane. She painted a bowl of fruit, and when she walked into her kitchen, a bowl of fruit magically appeared out of nowhere. She knew that she had no fruit in her house, so she was completely shocked. She had no other explanation other than the painting of fruit she had drawn had magically came to appear in real life on her kitchen table, as crazy as it sounded. She felt crazy for even considering it, but she said trying wouldn't hurt, so she painted a picture of money and lots of it. Before she could turn around, she saw loads of money appear right in front of her. That is when she completely freaked out, wondering how any of it was possible. While she was watching TV, her 8-year-old son had just came home from his friend's house. He had been watching a horror movie. He got bored from playing computer games after a while and went down to the basement where the canvas was and drew a devil character that was in a horror movie he had been watching in his friend's house. When he finished the drawing, he froze in horror when he saw the devil standing right in front of him.
Thanks for watching The Assassin Rapper, and if you want to stay up to date on new content, then please subscribe and be sure to hit the bell to be notified on new content.